They are. So for New York, I will say that there's pretty much an event space everywhere. It's generally the size, because what I'm finding is, um, last week it was a medical's office, now it's an event space. So, you know, you're gonna be able to fit about 40 people in there.
Right.
Um, During COVID, great. Before and now, post-COVID, post-pandemic, people want everybody at these events.
Okay.
So we're looking at places who that can hold 100 plus more, and that's a rarity in the city. So.
Malik's First Job Podcast, here to answer any questions that y'all ask. Financial literacy and resources. Parents and young people becoming bosses. CEOs, future leaders, entrepreneurs. Conferences and boardrooms getting sponsors secured. If you want generational wealth, Brooklyn's own Kerwin Phillip with information to help. Malik's First Job Podcast. Malik's Podcast. Brooklyn's own Kerwin Phillip. Kerwin Phillip. Malik's First Job Podcast. Podcast. Brooklyn's own Kerwin Phillip. Generational wealth.
Greetings, y'all. How y'all doing? This is Kerwin Phillip here with another episode of the Malik's First Job Podcast, where we speak about leadership, entrepreneurship, and financial literacy. Today, we have a great guest. We have Miss Robin Brown from RLE Events. That's correct? It's RLE Events, correct?
It's RL events. I mean,
RL Events, my fault.
that's
Right?
all right.
She's an event planner from New York City. So let's go ahead and welcome Miss Brown to the Malik's First Job Podcast. How you doing?
I am good. I am good. How are you?
I'm well. I'm well. So tell me, so event planning, you know, for those that aren't familiar with what event planning is, can you explain exactly what that is and what an event planner does?
So in the past, there would have been an event planner did social and galas and conferences.
Okay.
So it's expanded a lot more, even in the 10 years that I've been doing, 11 years that I've been doing this.
Okay.
So now there is in-person events, virtual events, but it's basically bring together an event, coordinating it, logistics, from A to Z, to pull off a seamless event, for your clients.
Okay. So what was the inspiration for you to get into that event planning business?
Truth, I was probably about 10 years old, and my mom planned a birthday party for me, and I was not pleased. And so at 11, I decided to plan my own,
Oh,
um,
wow.
like made my own little invitations and things like that. And didn't think about it anymore. Went through life in high school and college, and was working in retail for about 17 years. And left retail, and a friend of mine was like, you should do event planning. And I was like, oh, it's something I do for fun.
Right.
Uh, friends events and baby showers and parties. And then she said it to me again. And then she said it to me the third time. And for some reason, that third time, something clicked and was like, try it. You could do this. And that was it.
Okay. They say that the third time is always a charm, right?
That was the charm.
That
That
was a
third time was the
charm.
charm.
Oh, wow. 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 So do you have like a particular like niche? Like, do you do certain type of events? Do you focus on that, or do you do the whole range?
I actually do the whole range. Originally I was like, I'm gonna do small events, private events. And then it just grew. So I started to do, I would get a call for a gala. I've gotten a call for a wedding. And at first I was like, I don't know. Um, but I've done them. And they work. And so I don't really have a niche,
Okay.
per se, in the types of events I plan.
Okay. Okay. Is there like what was like the most memorable event that you've done?
Ooh. So I did an event for with a mutual friend of ours. Um, and it wind up being featured in Old Magazine.
Okay.
It was a prom king event where we would take donated suits and clothing and shoes, and give them to teens and even some maybe college kids who had never had a suit. So it would be like, or if you graduating high school and you wanted to go straight into, jobs, you may not have had a suit for your first interview. So that's where the concept of the event is. And yeah, so that was featured in O Magazine. So that was fun.
Oh wow, wow, wow. So did you get a chance to meet Oprah?
I did not. The closest I got was to Gail King's office.
Okay.
Um, but I
Did you
felt
meet
like
Gail?
Gail felt my energy in her office. And that was it. But no, I didn't meet Gail. Mm-mm.
Okay.
Not at that event. Let's say it like that. I've met Gail and Oprah, but not at that particular event.
Oh, so you met them at another time.
I met them at another time. Yes.
Well, can you talk about that?
It was it was a memorial service.
Oh,
Uh, so yeah, it wasn't like nothing like, oh my God,
yeah.
things like that. But I still was like, oh my God, I've stood next to Gail and Oprah. Now, just looked up because I'm a little height deficient. Um, and they were in their 6-inch heels. And so yeah, it was interesting. But yeah.
Yeah. Do you get a chance to talk to them or just?
Just briefly like, hello, how are you? Do you need
Okay.
anything type of situation? So yeah.
Okay. So let them know, I'm an event planner, you know,
Right. Yeah, no, that day it was completely logistics. So
logistics.
I was
Oh,
just like,
okay. Okay,
that's
cool.
cool. Yeah.
Got you, got you. So let's go back a little bit. So you decided that, the third time your friend approached you about starting this business, and you said, okay, I'm going to go ahead and do it. Right. So what were the steps you took to actually get it launched and get it off the ground?
So what's crazy is I ordered business cards. Had no clue about anything else. I just ordered business cards.
I think
Um,
most people do that when they start a business. That's the first step. Let me get some business cards before you even get a business license. I'm gonna get you
didn't
a
have a
business.
business license, didn't have a website, nothing. But I had some business cards. And I was like, okay, so what's next? And the same friend, in her apartment building, there was a program that was being launched called Women's Initiative. And it was to help women take their business from an idea um to reality. So they helped us write our business plans and things of that nature. And that's really where things started to roll. Um, and it would be I realized like people would say to me, "What do you do?" And I'm like, "I'm trying to become an event planner." Um, and then finally, I just stopped saying trying, and I'm like, "I'm an event planner," because nobody was gonna believe that I was an event planner if I didn't believe it myself. So
Yeah.
that's what started it, and it legit started from just doing friends parties. My neighbor's son's first birthday, another neighbor's daughter's party, and it just started to snowball.
Wow.
Yeah, we are
Wow.
11 years later.
Okay, cool. Cool, cool. So what would you say was some of like the biggest challenges you faced, in the event planning industry? And how did you overcome those challenges?
Honestly, just getting to figure out where, like, so when I started, social media wasn't, it was, social media was around.
Mhm.
It hasn't been that long, but social media was around, but it wasn't like, well, I have to create this huge presence on social media. So
Right.
I was trying to figure out like how to get my business out there. And I will be honest, I've been extremely blessed in that I do an event. Somebody's either there that know that, says, "Oh my God, I have an event coming up," or
Mhm.
the person I've done the event for is like, "Hey, listen, you know, we'll pass my name off to all their friends when they have upcoming events." But it was honestly like just getting my name out there to folks to say, "Hey, this is what I do."
Okay, okay, okay. And I guess other than social media, what ways do you market the business?
Honestly, I'll be honest, I don't. And I'm actually my oh my Lord, my mentor would beat me about this. They're always like, you have to get a bigger presence on social media. Um, but it's been like just word of mouth.
Okay.
Um, it is honestly word of mouth. And when you do good work, people talk about it. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I know that event planning. I know there's a lot of people out there that do it, right? There's always weddings taking place. There's always parties and everything, along those lines. So how do you stay creative, um, and innovative in such a competitive industry?
Um, One, you do a lot of research.
Okay.
Uh, I will research, especially like some of the vendors that I use, in terms of like supplies and things of that nature, just seeing what they have coming out.
Hmm.
Um, and just looking for trends. You will hear that this show is a later, the like Bridgerton, let's take them for example.
Okay.
Once you realize the popularity of that show,
Right.
you know that some the themes are going to come. Um, tea parties and things of that nature. So it's really just watching to see what um people are drawn to just in everyday life, because if they love it in everyday life, they're gonna love it in an expanded way for their particular event.
Okay. 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 Cool. Now I know you have an accounting background, right? You don't?
You went there. Okay.
I'm about to say, wait, hold up. Am I told it wrong? I know you have an accounting background,
Ooh,
right?
you went there. You went back to college days. Okay.
Okay, okay. But I know you've done some accounting work, so it's to stop playing.
In college. But keep
Okay,
it going.
okay,
Okay.
okay. So, but how do you manage budgets and I guess and still be able to deliver when sometimes spending is in the crunch? How do you do that?
I so I'm honest. I will, if the budget is $25,000, I tell them to put it to 30. Because there is always something. There is um the week of, oh my gosh, I saw this on TikTok and I have to have this for this event. Are you absolutely sure? Because it's going to cost you. um my goal is always to stay within the 25,000 or whatever budget is given, but I always tell them to budget for the incidentals.
Mhm.
People also don't realize how much things cost anymore. um they see an event, they think, oh, well, flowers are kind of expensive, but balloons are cheap. They're not. Balloon artistry is not a cheap skill or experience. So it's just reminding people like these things really do cost, and just showing them like this is exactly what you get for $25,000. Is this what you want? Oftentimes they will go up to the $30,000 budget, to the higher budget because they want to fit everything in. But I always give them their needs
Mhm.
and their wants list, and these are the things you absolutely have to have for this event. And then once we cover those, these are your wants, and let's see if you still want them.
Okay. So have there been cases where I guess you've bumped heads with the client,
Absolutely.
trying to execute on their vision, what they're trying to accomplish?
Hmm.
How do you handle those
Because
situations?
um, you just have to remind them to trust you, that they hired you for a reason,
Okay.
um, and that what they may have envisioned, um, I try to come as close to it as possible. But there's outside factors that cannot allow us to do that. It may be weather. Um,
Okay.
having a party in the middle of Central Park and it's gonna be, raining. That ruins your vision. So it's also reminding folks, as I like to say, ever evolving. That's what we say at our church, that we are ever evolving. So that I use that a lot. Like we are ever evolving. This will still happen. Your guest will still have an amazing time. They may never know about this hiccup unless you tell them.
Right.
Uh, and let's move forward with plan B or F at that rate, because sometimes we move from plan to plan to plan.
Yeah. Yeah. So like a space like Central Park, right? What are the steps someone would take to actually be able to reserve that space to host an event?
Central Park, you have to do a so Central Park is an example, but for most parks in New York City, you have to get a permit
Okay.
to have an event, and then they have each park has a different rule. So some have, grilling. Some have you cannot use tents. The larger the event, the more flexible they are, and also they charge. Whereas Randall's Island may charge $25 for you to reserve a space, Central Park will charge a lot more. Um, Again, also depending on the scale of the event. So
Now, is it hard, like outside of the parks and stuff, is it hard to find like do they have like event space venues that are
yes.
accessible?
So there's tons in New York. The challenge I've been having lately is finding ones in the neighborhoods that my clients want to stay in. So that's been my biggest challenge lately. But hopefully that'll get
Okay.
fixed soon.
Okay. So like mainly like the event spaces are they like in the city, not necessarily like in the boroughs?
They are so for New York, I will say that there's pretty much an event space everywhere. It's generally the size, because what I'm finding is, um, last week it was a medical's office, now it's an event space. So, you know, you're gonna be able to fit about 40 people in there.
Right.
Um, During COVID, great. Before and now, post COVID, post pandemic, people want everybody at these events. So we're looking at places who that can hold 100 plus more, and that's a rarity in the city. So that's where the challenge is.
Yeah. Now, have you considered like having, with to kind of package with your event planning space is also have a venue that you own yourself or that you lease yourself that you're able to, you know, have the events that you plan, you have it at your space.
So, Kerwin, I'm just going to need you to get out of my head. So that is actually that is actually what I am working on now is
Okay.
getting my own event space. Because what I find is one, some of the spaces I use are a challenge. Because one, um, they the folks that own them are not don't have a passion for events.
Okay.
So they don't one either maintain them, they don't maintain them. To where it's be like, hey, this is a great space to use. They're just seeing it as a cash cow.
Right.
Um, so that's the one challenge I've had. And then the second one I've had is that, um, as you know, I am born and raised in Harlem. Um,
Shout out
and
Drew Hamilton.
shout out Drew Hamilton. Um, and so far in Harlem, there are very few spaces that can hold more than 100 people, without like there's a catering hall, so you have to get their food. So things of that nature. So the goal is to get an event space in Harlem, that can hold more than 100 people. That is either elevator accessible or ground floor,
Right.
because I believe, grandma want to get her two-step into, so she shouldn't
Right.
have to walk up 25, 30 stairs to do
Right.
so. So, yep, that's the 2025 goal.
Okay, okay, okay. So someone that's, looking to get into the event space, or not event space, into the event planning business, like what is like five key elements you would want to, share with them, that would be important for them to get started?
Um, be prepared to be wrong sometimes.
Okay.
Uh, you're not always going to be right. In this, in no industry, but in this industry, be prepared for change, quick. One moment, throwing chairs are the thing, and then the next moment, they are looked at as, ooh, no, I don't want that.
Right.
So you gotta be open for change. Um, Three, just always remember to have fun with it.
Yeah.
As long as you have fun doing it and you love doing it, it won't feel like work. Even the long hours, it still will be, you'll feel the joy um in your heart. How many has that been? Three, four? What am I?
You said about
Uh,
it.
Another thing is, plan. You do not have to have a ton of money to start an event planning company.
Okay.
Um, but you just have to be diligent about um, who you want and who you want to go after, if that's your goal, or if not, just you know, putting yourself out there and just letting folks know, hey, this is what I do.
Right.
Give me a call if you need someone, because not everybody. There's tons of people that be like, I don't want to do this. Here you go.
So you said like you don't have to have much money or any money at all to get started, right? So how do you, reserve and
So honestly, in the beginning, it's honestly just you putting up, you can create a social media page and
okay,
start posting some of the things that you do. You can, show, you can do little things and get tips on how to save money for a wedding. Um, Ways, do how to make your own centerpieces. So little things like that you can get started on. And then it be in the beginning, um, again, I had a friend who tells me this, like, when I started, I probably had like one vase, no tablecloths, things of that nature.
right,
Um, but it's, you don't price it where you are trying to make $60,000 off your first event, but you price it so that, you know, your talent is what you have to remember that you get paid for, one. And then two, these you price it so that your clients um is one getting their money's worth, but two paying what you're worth.
okay,
So yeah,
okay.
you'll be
So
fine.
so do you have like a closet full of tablecloths, or do you just pretty much outsource that stuff?
So I ended up with a whole I have a whole bedroom now that has been converted to an office,
Okay,
a storage unit, I'll say it like that,
right,
tablecloths and vases, because you'll have a client that says, I have to have this vase. Oh my God, I have to have this vase. And at the end of the night, you go to pack it up and send it to them, and they're like, I don't want that. You can keep it. And you're like, wait, what? And
wow,
that's honestly essentially how the inventory of the things I have started to add up. Or it would be like, I would do smaller events like a dinner party for two, or, like small things of that nature. And I'd need a tablecloth. So I'd
okay,
buy one tablecloth. And it would be like, okay, I'm doing another small event, it's four tablecloths. Let me get these four, because I don't have to keep renting them from another company. I
right,
can buy my own and then rent them out to my clients. Rent them out to other event planners,
right.
things of that nature. And so it slowly has grown into an entire bedroom of vases and tablecloths and things like that. So yeah.
Okay, okay, okay.
Mhm.
So where do you see this business in the next like 5 to 10 years?
Um, well, we're getting older. Uh, well, you are.
You're not.
I'm not getting as old as you are. Uh, but next 5 years, I really want to have an event space. The goal is to have two locations, and at least two, one in Harlem and then one in the Bronx. Um, and then more so, like, I don't want to say slowing down on doing my own personal events, but just not doing as many, because some years I'm like, I want to do 25, 30 events. And then these events start rolling in. And I'm like, whoo. Um, and I do at some point want to have a full-time team, to be able to do them with me. Right now, I do contract folks out, to assist. But the goal is to have an event space, um, show folks like, listen, we can have a good time in this space.
Yeah,
Um, and because I love taking the same space and then just doing, imagining it different ways that
right.
people have never thought of the space being.
Yeah, yeah. So where do you go to, I guess, for the folks, I guess for the people who you contract,
Hmm.
and like where do you find these folks at?
Some of them I've met at other events, some are networking events,
Okay,
some I found off social media, or who have found me and we've just vibed. Sometimes it's I've like, I've done an event, the client has had this person and I'm like, oh, they're pretty dope. Let me just keep them, and see how much more, what other work we can do together. So, It's been a few of those.
Okay. Okay. So for folks that may want to reach out to you directly to get more information or, to maybe mentorship or maybe to even book you for an event, how can they find you?
So on my Instagram page, it's RL Events,
Okay.
um, events with an S. You can also email me at rbrown@robinlaurieevents.com. Those are probably the best ways to find me. I will be honest, I am horrible about updating my social media page. But I be working. So I'm like, yeah, that's what I really need to do is get a social media person. Once I get that person, then maybe I'll be much better about that life. But yeah.
You can find find some teenager, throw them a couple dollars,
Yes. Yes. I'm gonna give me a good teenager. You would think I got these three nephews, but no,
put them to work.
no,
No,
that's not their skill set. Let's say it like that.
got you. Got you. But that could be a street team then.
Yes. Now they'll do that part, but yeah.
Right, right. All right, cool. But thank you, for taking time to talk with us today and sharing your insight and your experience in the event planning space. Um, any last thoughts you want to share before we wrap up?
Uh, Event planning is not for the faint of heart, but you have to know how to laugh at yourself.
Mm, okay, great. So, it's not for the weak, and you gotta learn how to laugh at yourself in the process. All right. Cool. Now, well, why do you say that? Let's elaborate on that a little bit before you wrap up. Like, well, what did you have to laugh at yourself about, like in the experience you had planning an event?
Ah, Lord, I probably laugh at myself at every event because I swear like I can uh you know swing from the chandeliers. It just depends. Sometimes you're just like, I really thought I was gonna be able to do this in 2 hours. Sometimes you amaze yourself and get it done in the 2 hours, and you're like, yes. Um, Sometimes, you've communicated over and over again to the caterer, like, hey, I need you here at 3 o'clock, and it's 4 o'clock, and they're looking at you like, so, why are you looking at me like that? And all you can do is laugh. Like you gotta laugh because it keeps you from crying and it keeps you from choking them and going to jail.
Right.
Um, so it's things like that. And then it's also sometimes like, you've talked to the rental company and said, hey, I want 20 feet of pipe and drape. And they're like, great, yes. And then they bring it and it's not 20 feet. And so you're like, I need you to get it. Like, I still have, like, what can we do? Um, and their warehouse is 2 hours away. Your event starts in 2 hours.
Right.
So it's, figuring out where to pivot and things of that nature. Sometimes it just doesn't look good. You imagine it looking in one way and then it comes and you're like, absolutely not. This looks crazy. So you have
Right.
to figure out what to do, and pivot and ever evolve. So you
Make it look
laugh
fun.
and then you pray and you stand there and you think and you hope that the creativity kicks in.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Well, I know it can be so much stress for a little bit. I guess that's why you got to kind of laugh at yourself to, you know, or give folks the side eye, right?
Yes. Yes. The side eye comes in handy.
Right. All right, cool. But again, thank you, for sharing. And thank you all for watching. Again, if you have any, if you're in the New York City area, and you want to have some events, that you need someone to help you out with, definitely reach out to Miss Robin Laura Brown, and definitely be able to help you and, get your stuff right, beautiful, and pull off the best event that you could ever have. All right. And again, thank you all. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. And I'll see you all next week. Peace.
Generational wealth.